Good morning. I have my coffee. Well, I tell you what, the sun is shining, so things are going to be better today than it has been. The weather is nicer, and I'm thanking the Lord. So, anyway, the verse I have today is this Isaiah 55:12. For you shall go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall break forth into singing, and the trees of the field shall clap their hands. So let's rejoice this morning and count our blessings, count them one by one. And I tell you what, I had enough blessings to sit in the dentist office this morning. They said, I need to get this uh, crown that fell out put back in. And I got me a dentist appointment. They said, we have a cancellation. Come on over at 9 o'clock, 9 or 9:30. Well, I got there at 9 because I thought, well, that is so sweet of them to work me in. Goody gumdrop. Get that put right back in. So I filled out all the papers and she gave them to me. And I sat there and I sat there and I sat there and I sat there. And next thing I knew, it was 10 o'clock, going up toward quarter after. And I said, I've been here an hour. Are they going to work me? She says, they're running behind. They're really running behind. I said, well, honey, I am so tired of sitting here, and I have things I need to do. I didn't tell her I had a video to make, and I wanted to talk to y'all. I want to visit. And I said, I've got things to do, and I do, because I had to go pick up James's medicine from Walgreens, which I had to drive by, and I have things I have to do. She said, she said, they'll probably get to you later. And I said, I tell you, could we just do it another day? So she said, oh, that would be so good if you would, because we are running so behind. I guess they ran into some problems. Other people were coming in, and they were going right straight back. That didn't happen to Grandma Lois. So I said, well, I tell you what, let's make another appointment because I need to go do some things. So she said, if you would come at 8 o'clock in the morning, we would get you first thing. You would be first. I said, I'll do that. So I have March the 4th, 8 o'clock. I got high hopes. I told her, I said, it's not the end of the world because when I smile, phony smile, you can't see that I got a tooth missing right here. And it doesn't bother when I'm eating. I don't even miss it. So I don't really have to have it real bad. And James, so I called James and told him I had to make another appointment. He's at the office. He said, did you get an estimate? I don't get no estimate. I said, all I saw was the girl in front at the front desk. And, honey, it don't matter. We'll talk later. I don't care what it costs, because what can you do? They're going to charge you what they're going to charge you. I'm not going hunting for a good deal. I want this tooth put back in. And I've been to that dentist before, and he's one of the best ones in town, and he's never been real high priced. I'm not worried about him. I went there to have my teeth cleaned last time I had my teeth cleaned. So they do the work. So I'll go March 4th, 8 o'clock. So I was thinking this morning, what in the world shall I tell y'all about? And yesterday, James and I watched on KET this lady, that same church where we prayed in the millionaire. We prayed for a millionaire to come to our church, and it was Evangel and brother. Now what was? See, I get glitches sometimes. But Wayman Rogers was the pastor, and now his son is the pastor there of Evangel. They call it another name now. But we went to church there, and when it was not a big church, about 100, 140 people, and we prayed in a millionaire. And he came and gave a nice, good tithe offering for his tithe, which was about $25,000. I'm not real sure. But anyway, we was talking about it, and don't you know, on KET, there came this story of this woman that I used to know and what she did. And I don't remember her name, and I can't find it again on PBS, but she would take in boys out of prison, young men, and she had a big house, and she would put them up, feed them, take care of them until they could get on their feet. And they didn't let her down, and most all of them gave their heart to the Lord. And it reminded me of what me and Buddy did many years ago. We built an extra room on our apartment, and our son had already gone, and we had built it for him to have his own place because we didn't have an extra bedroom. So this is the room I'm in right now. So anyhow, at our church, where we was going at that time, and that was before Evangel, we was doing jail ministry. Some of our young men and the pastor was going down to our jail and doing jail ministry, and they was winning over some of those young men for the Lord. And it was time for a bunch of them to get out, and they had no place to go. So our pastor asked if there was anybody in the church they hadn't done real bad crimes. I don't remember what they did. Could give them a place to stay for a few weeks till they find a job and get on their own. So Buddy and I said, yes, we have a big room and we can put 4 beds in it, and they could come stay with us till they get on their feet, and we'll help them hunt jobs and stuff. So they were delivered to us. The pastor bought these 4 boys, 4 young men, and I'd say none of them they were in their 20s. They were young, and they were nice. And so my sister threw a fit, Phyllis, but she always threw fits anyway, her and her husband, Stanley. They said, don't you know you will be murdered in your sleep, and they will steal you blind, and you won't have anything left? You're going to wake up one morning, and there won't be nothing there because they will have taken. I said, we don't have nothing worth stealing. All they want is a place to stay. They just want a job. I had met them and, and talked to them already by the time she was throwing her fit and found out what me and Buddy had done and invited them into our home. And, they were nice young men. And we helped them find jobs, and they found jobs. And it wasn't long. They moved out, except for one of them. He was having difficulty finding a job. And it took him like 3 weeks longer than the others. I don't know why. But he did get a job. And the one of them stayed in touch with us a long time just to see how we were doing. Man, that was a long time ago. That was before we went into the ministry or did anything, for the Lord. But I did do some jail ministry back earlier when we were doing jail ministry. And you would go down to the jail. And do you know some of them would spit on you through the bars when they saw you walk past? And they were bad, bad. And they would cuss. And so anyway, we just tell them Jesus loves you, and we just come to tell you about the Lord and that you can make it with his help. And so we would talk to them a while, and some of them would really listen, and some of them were really not listen. But we tried. And then me and another girl, we had a visitation program where, like on Tuesday evenings, you went and you knocked on doors around your church and invited people to church. And she and I used to do that. We'd walk different streets from the church for not too far, but up several blocks. And I met this one woman, and I was babysitting at that time. Back before I was a dog groomer, and I've been a dog groomer, and I've been a babysitter, and I was a wedding photographer, and I've done so many things. But anyway, we went up through there, and we met Miss Lou Coomer, and she was a babysitter also. So I invited her to church, and she came. The only one of all those weeks we went, but she came, and the next thing you know, she brought her family, her husband and her children, which I had kids about their age, and they got involved with what the youth were doing. And her children, her son is a wonderful Assembly of God man down in South Carolina, and of course Lou and I stayed friends all those years. We was always talking about babysitting. And her husband was a carpenter. And that carpenter, her husband, this room I'm sitting in, he put brown paneling. It was cheaper, so Buddy and I had paneling later on. This was before we took those 4 kids in, and he built this room for us because it was just like a back porch. Underneath this floor here is a big cistern because this house did not have water, and so it had a cistern. That's how old it is, and that's how they got their water, was out of the cistern. And it's a cement floor, and we covered the cistern over, and we got carpet. It's cement, and we got carpet. And he put these panelings. He put me 2 closets, and he said, "What kind of doors do you want?" And I said, "Well, them are fine." Like he put, let me see. Let me pick this up. See that door? And then there's another one over there. And so he put brown paneling on all this, and we just loved it. I mean, and later on I'll let my son have it for his room because we wanted him a place to be because he was sleeping in the furnace room on a little half bed. But he had his own room then, and he could have his little friends in and have fun. So we painted it white. We got tired of the brown paneling. So we painted this, and I think I told you earlier, we painted these walls white, and it took 4 coats. It took us 2 days. We painted, and you know what? It's still there, ceiling and all. Now the roof leaked a little bit, and I haven't painted it yet. I don't know if I will or not. It don't hurt anything. Ooh, I think I'm going to sneeze. Phew! Excuse me. They sneak up on you, don't they? Good, I got my Kleenex here. So this is the room that Albert Coomer, Lou Coomer's husband built. And anyway, her son is down in South Carolina, and when he got killed driving a truck back where they lived they moved to the woods in a trailer out in the country, and she got to where she couldn't cook, so he would go every day. He would drive to somewhere and get her a hamburger out to Palmyra somewhere, which was close by, and he would get her a hamburger and bring food to her and get food for himself, and she was in a wheelchair. Well, as he was coming home one night, he didn't come home. He hit a tree, and it killed him. And somebody saw it, and they came and told her that he was dead. So they had the funeral, and of course she had this wonderful son, and he was living in this other state, and he came and got Mama and moved her down south with him. And she hated staying in that. His wife worked and he worked, and they didn't have any children. She said, I talked to her on the phone. "I'm so tired of sitting here," she said, "by myself all day long, and there's nothing." She said, "I'd be better off if they'd put me in assisted living or something." So she requested they put her in assisted living, and they did. And she liked that so much better. She liked people around. She liked to visit. If you don't have people, and this is the truth, if you don't have somebody to talk to, it is a very lonely life. And that's why some people watch YouTube. Of course they do, because they're lonely. They're sitting in their room, and there's a lot of widows and widowers and people that have not married, and this way they got a friend. Because I look at some of these and I just enjoy them very much. James works a lot, but God has blessed me, but I lived alone. And I tell you what, the lonesomest time for me would be in the evening, about supper time, when it was time to fix some supper for a husband or something, and there was no one there. And it was very lonely. And you get to the place where even TV or nothing interests you. And so you have to do something. And so when I was all alone that one time after Floyd went away, and I was crying all the time, and I changed churches, that helped some, because I didn't start dating James till much later. That helped pretty good. And then I thought, well, I'm going to get out of this. Here I was, 72 2 years old, I think, or something like that. I don't know. Old up there. I felt like my life was over. So I said, I'm going to go to the VFW. They have country music down there every Friday night. I knew about that. So I said, I'll go down, and I went by myself down to Sixton Market, New Albany, Indiana. They still do it every Friday night. I don't go anymore. Don't have time. Too busy. Good coffee. So anyway, I went out, and so I met one person down there, and she introduced me around to people that I had met walking at the mall, because I would walk at the mall in the morning. And you know that helps you too. If you get out and just walk where senior citizens walk. And you know what I would do sometimes? I would walk. They all walk one direction. I would walk the other direction just so I could say hello, because I was so lonely. I worked at it, folks. If you just sit in your house and don't do nothing and you can't get out, I understand. But if you can get out, and even if you go to the grocery store just a couple of weeks just for nothing, get out and speak to somebody and smile at them, and you'd be surprised. And if you wear a flower in your hair like I always done, now that can start a conversation. I like the flower in your hair. Well, thank you. I've been doing this, I can say, since I was a little girl. Did you ever do that? And you can start a conversation, and sometimes you can make a friend. You don't know. You don't know if you don't try. Let's not be negative. And I was negative because I thought my life was over. So I went to VFW, and when I went down there, I worked at making friends. I went and sat down at a table and told them, my name is such and such, what's yours? And I made friends. Not to come to sit in my house all the time, because I never wanted that. I mean, I never was one to sit around and pass the time of day with somebody, except y'all, because y'all aren't giving me no problem. You're sweet. You're a sweet bunch of people, and I love you, and so many of you say you love me too, and that's great. Thank you, Jesus, for my new friends out there in YouTube world. I never dreamed anything like this could happen, because that day that I sat down with my big iPad to take a selfie and said, I believe I'll talk a little while, and I talked for 11 minutes, I never knew that would grow into this many people. And I have faithful fans. Whoa. Well, that's what you say to a horse. Did I ever tell you how we had horses on the farm? I tell you what, if there's one thing I did not care for, it was the farm. But now I can do all the things. See, I'm a city girl, and I knew that all along, because it's so lonely out in the country. You have to walk a mile. You have to go on Shank's pony. That's what they call walking. To go to Grandma's, I had to walk a half a mile. To catch a school bus, you had to walk a half a mile. So I didn't care. I like to look out, and I can see cars going by, and people around, and Walmart's out the road, and Aldi's is out the road, and Myers is just right over there, and not far away, and I still drive. Oh, you know what? Our mail has not come. We are supposed to get the tags, our new tags for our cars in February. They didn't come. And we didn't discover it till James says, on one of his vehicles, because he gets his the same time I do, he said, do you know we're driving on tags that are not legal? We're still driving on and we're supposed to have 25, and they didn't come in the mail, so we're checking it all out tomorrow. We don't know what happened, and the license bureau is closed on Monday here. You can't find out anything. He said, I told him, I said, well, I got to go to the dentist. He said, well, if they pick you up. I said, well, if they put me in jail, will you come visit me? He said, they only have visitations certain times. And that's true, because we had a girl working for us that stole something that she wouldn't, and got caught. And we liked her, and she worked good for James. I think maybe she was, I don't know. But anyway, she was working for this other company, and she stole something, and they put her in jail, and she was our friend. And so I called her up. I could talk to her. I said, when can you have company? She said, Saturday morning for 15 minutes only. And so I never did go. What's the use? She served a year, and she got out. And you know that girl moved away. She had a brother out west that had a good business, and she went out there and started working with him, and because she could do anything. I mean, that girl is talented. And so anyway, she met somebody, and she got married, and she's here in her 50s, and she was single, and she is such a happy woman. I was so happy for her, and I still talk to her on the phone. We FaceTime sometimes, and I hear from her, and she calls me and lets me know how she's doing, and she's just doing great. So thank you, Jesus. All right, I guess that's it. You've caught up with me today, and I tell you what, folks, you that are sad and lonely, watch the YouTube, make your comments, and go to the Kroger and look at all the specials or someplace and get out in the air or sit out in the sunshine. Sometimes in the summer, I just go out and sit in the shade. I can't sit in the sun. When I was a little girl now, we used to try to get suntans. Do y'all remember when everybody needed a suntan and we had that fake stuff you could put on your legs that would make you look like you had tan legs, that you was wearing pantyhose? Well, so when I was younger, we would go out and lay in the sun. Well, I'm fair skinned and I never did tan. So we would mix iodine with baby oil and put it on our skin because they said that will make you tan fast. It never happened to me. I worked in the fields and I never tanned. I had to, but my husband, Buddy, was part Indian in his background and Cherokee, and his mother was a very Indian looking woman. But the girls, the twins, take after him, and they can tan. And he tanned. He just step out in the sun. Now James is the same way. But Kim, baby Kim, my youngest daughter, she's like me. She can't tan. Some people cannot get a tan. You just have to fake it. And I don't fake it. I'm just fair skinned. That's life. And I avoid the sun because it really bothers me. This is one of my new wigs. It looks pretty good. Well, I'm going to shut up. Y'all walk that walk. Take that path. My phone got messages coming in. Y'all walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased with you. Bye-bye.